again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Matt here in Rome with Hilary White, who's a correspondent for the Remnant and a writer for other organizations, including LifeSite News, of course. Just wanted to pick Hilary's brain for a few moments, just a few hours here before the conclave begins here in the Sistine Chapel. Hilary, how are you?
Pretty good day.
Good. Now, what do you think? What do you think about the process?
Who do I think is going to be Pope?
Who's the Pope? Yeah, tell us. You must know. You live here in
People
Rome.
keep asking me. It's not my job.
Do you have a front runner?
I declined to respond on the grounds that my answer may tend to incriminate me.
There we go. Every good journalist in this town does not answer that question until Hilary, being a good journalist, did not answer. Tell us something about what's the mood on the street with respect to Benedict's abdication.
I don't think anyone's happy with it. Everybody I talk to, people aren't angry. They're not disappointed. No, they're disappointed. They're sad. Something that the news media really forgot to mention in 8 years is that Catholics really loved Benedict. They had a powerful emotional connection with him, and they believed the things he said. They knew that he was never going to lie to them or never lead them astray, that he was their father in a very real spiritual sense. And it's hard to lose your father.
I've sensed that even talking to traditionalists, supporters of Benedict, certainly liturgically, his initiatives, where there's almost a resentment of the fact that he advocated.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, and I can understand it. I think it's not a case of disloyalty. You get a lot of people kind of accusing you and saying, oh, you should have more faith in the Holy Spirit. That's not it. That's not it. It's a personal thing. We're just talking about the human heart. And you can disagree with your father, you can argue with your father, as people do, but you'll never stop being. And that, I think, people felt very, very strongly that they needed to stay with them. And you saw this on the last day in Casa Gandolfo. A friend of mine, I wasn't able to go, but a friend of mine was there, and he went around the crowd, big crowd, asking people, how do you feel? And they all said the same thing, stay.
Yeah, it just seems like there must be, I guess all of us have to believe in our hearts that there must be a plan, that he has some sort of plan.
Boy, I hope so.
What do you think? Do you think he does?
I think he does. I've been saying this from the start. I just like to go on record saying that it's been my thought that I guess he knew. He's a curial cardinal for 25, 30 years. So he had no illusions at all about the situation inside. He knew about the factionalism, he probably knew about things like Vatican bank scandals or misappropriation or whatever it is that was going on there, we don't know. But he knew, and certainly he knew it going in being Pope, the whole thing with the wolves. We had all kinds of hints of it all the way through this papacy, and people who were looking closely knew that something big and bad was happening in there. And that maybe it was simply, maybe he understood himself well enough to say, I'm not up to this. It takes a powerful amount of strength that he may have had when he was a younger man, but probably doesn't have now. And the thought is, did he decide to do what he did for this purpose?
Okay, good. We're going to take a little pause and we'll get right back to you.
Okay. In the square, only video, no interviews, no audio. Okay?
Okay, they have pretty strict rules here in the piazza against filming, so we just got relocated by the police. For interviewing, yes. So here we are. So continue. Do you remember where you're?
I think I remember, yeah. The plan, I think the thing that Benedict has done is made it possible for a clearing the house. What's certainly become clear is that the problems in the church that everybody knows about at the diocesan level, everybody knows, right? There isn't a faithful Catholic in the world that hasn't bumped up against it. What most people don't understand is that it goes all the way up. A lot of people sort of naively write to Rome and say, well, they'll do something about it now that they know, now that they have the documentation. And for 40 years people have been doing this and getting nowhere. And we're starting to understand why.
Right.
At least this has made it clear to the whole world that the problem is very serious. It's no joke. And combining that with the problems that are going on in the secular world, I can see Benedict saying, you know what, there needs to be two popes. This is so big and so ferocious now that it's going to take more than just me.
You know, and still you see this comparison going on, even still, with John Paul II, that Benedict somehow failed because he could not fill the big shoes. What are your thoughts about that comparison, which seems actually kind of rude at this point to still be bringing up the predecessor like that?
Well, I think people do it because John Paul was very inactive in the last years of his pontificate, so the media got used to him being safe to talk about. And now Benedict kept talking. He kept saying things that the secular world didn't like right up to the last minute. So of course they hate him, right? They hated John Paul too when he was active and producing stuff. I don't think it's a legitimate comparison. I think the two men are very different. They both had different goals and different approaches to the papacy. And I think it's just because the media is stupid and doesn't really know what to say. They haven't had very much to do here, you know, and everybody's thinking back to the funeral of John Paul and comparing this conclave to the last one. Mostly because, quite honestly, the world's press is bored to tears.
They really are, you know, and it's just not just the media, but also, you know, people. I know you interviewed a young lady yesterday here, or 2 days ago in the piazza here, and we're going to show that clip, but another example of how people themselves are sort of just repeating this narrative about the great one, and they don't really even know what it means, so we'll go to that clip here.
Loved like Pope John Paul II. Right. He did so many great things, and he was just a very lovable pope for the majority of the Catholic people, I think. So I think after that, it's always hard to follow someone like that. But I think it's definitely sad. It was a hard decision for him to make, and I'm sure for him it was something that he really struggled with and prayed on a lot. So.
Do you think of anything that specifically comes to mind that John Paul did that was really good?
Sorry about the spot there.
I know. I feel like he was just kind of really a man of the people. Like he was very personable and someone that people could look up to. And I'm not using my brain very well right now, so
I'm tired, maybe. What would you like to see in the next pope? What sort of ideas do you think you're hoping for?
I would like to see someone who's going to really move the church forward, who's going to look at what like Catholic people right now really want and need.
Which is? You're a Catholic person. What do you want and need?
I guess. Oh God. I guess for me, I just kind of feel like I don't know. I feel like we need to take a more liberal stance on a lot of things. We need to look back at issues and look at the way that the Bible's been interpreted and what the real meaning behind things are. So maybe the stance on gay marriage, the stance on women being able to be priests, because they actually in the early church.
Oh boy, yeah, that's the real sign that we know now what Benedict was up against. That people don't know the faith. They don't. They received, as he said, they've received the information about their religion, about the faith, about the church from the media. There's the media council he talked about. Well, we've had the media church ever since. And this poor girl. I mean, what is she being taught? She goes to Boston College. She's probably never heard the first thing about the faith. She's received she's had the received wisdom. You know, the whole, as I say, the whole narrative of conservative versus liberal, progressive. You know, progressive is good, conservative is bad, and that's probably all she knows. And I think that that interview is really emblematic of what the cardinals need to think about in choosing the next pope. Because when push comes to shove, it's not about politics. It's not about global economics. It's not about even suppression of the clergy. It's about that girl.
Sure, exactly, and that girl
Saving
and millions of others that are just like her. Yeah. All right, well, we're running out of time. You can see just behind us here, up in the corner, is the Sistine Chapel, and we're just a couple of hours away now from the process of looking for the smoke, white versus black. We expect black today, but Hilary, before we go, just give us a minute or two on what are your expectations? What do you think?
What do I
just
what
generally?
Do I think?
Are you excited? Are you?
Wow, certainly is the biggest and most important thing I've ever covered. I'm ever likely to cover. My thoughts are, I hate to say it, but my thoughts are pretty gloomy.
Gloomy?
I'd love to see a rabbit pulled out of the hat. Everyone's saying there's no sure candidate. People in the last conclave, they kind of knew. We all sort of didn't dare to hope, but we all sort of kind of knew that there was one major candidate. That situation doesn't exist now. I read a thing last night. Cardinal gave an anonymous interview to someone, a very good journalist here that I know, and he said, "Pray for us. These are dangerous times." And I thought, oh boy, get that right.
That pretty much sums it up. Dangerous times indeed. So folks back home, we got to keep praying and hoping for the best outcome here this afternoon. So for Michael Matt here in Rome, we'll see you next time. Thanks.